Hey gals, welcome to Binge Free Bestie, the podcast where we ditch the diets, break free from binge eating, and build a safe and empowered relationship with our bodies. I'm your host, Nick Carberia, a registered therapist who totally gets it. Binge eating and body image struggles? Yep, I've been there, done that, and I've got the therapy bills to prove it. But here's the good news, bestie. I've recovered and I'm here to help you to do the same. This potty is all about real, evidence-based strategies from my therapy practice, plus down-to-earth, relatable girl talk with me and some of my amazing besties and other experts who have their own stories, tips, and tricks to share with you. So, whether you're tired of the diet cycle, ready to ditch the shame spiral, or just want to feel more confident in your own skin, then you've come to the right place. It's time to get real about food freedom, body acceptance, self-care, and building a life you truly love. Let's get into it, besties. Hey besties, and welcome back to the Binge Free Bestie podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little different because I wanted to sit down and do a bit of a 2025 Wrapped, like a little play on the Spotify Wrapped, but it's going to be 2025 Binge Free Besties Wrapped, but it's going to talk about the professional side for me, what I've been building here for you gals, and also a little bit of personal stuff too, because I want to share more of myself with you gals. I want you to know me a little better, right? And I think that one thing that I've noticed about what's shifting in the world right now is with that rise of AI and the fact that we can basically teach ourselves anything. You can go on the internet and search up any piece of information, or you can ask ChatGPT and it's going to tell you. So I think that moving forward, you gals are really going to value, and I know that I do myself personally, real human connection. And I want to show you guys that I am not AI driven. I am not a bot. I'm a real gal with real lived experience. I also happen to be a therapist, but let's be honest, a lot of the tools and strategies that I share, you could technically just Google. Okay, it's all out there floating around on the interwebs. But the thing that makes a difference is when you have someone supporting you who is human and real and raw and who can take you through that messy middle and show up and share stories and have empathy and be your cheerleader. So I think that's going to be a big difference in 2026, not just in my mahi, my work, what I do, but I think also with a lot of other businesses too. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I can feel it in the air that human connection is going to be what everyone is desiring or longing for in 2026. So promise to you right now is I'm going to start sharing a little bit more of myself just to show you that you can trust me and that I am real and that I am actually human. So yeah, today I thought we could do a 2025 Wrapped, both personally and with Binge Free Bestie. And holy moly, this has been such a huge year for me in so many ways, and if you've been following me for a while, you'll know this already. And if you're new to Binge Free Bestie, hey, I am Nick. I am a registered counsellor in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I'm the founder of Binge Free Bestie, which is a food freedom empire. We are dismantling diet culture around here, and we are doing some big, bold moves. And if you're new, I'm going to share some stuff today that's going to blow your mind. If you've been following me for a while, I think it's still going to blow your mind because I'm going to share a bit more detail than I have in the past. I'm going to share with you some of the behind the scenes of all of the crazy shit that has happened this year. Okay. And I mean, I share so much here on the podcast and on my socials about food freedom and recovery and regulation and healing, but I'm also going to share with you now a little bit more about the reality of what it's been like building Binge Free Bestie, of the reality of being a therapist, being a business owner, and doing work that maybe is a little bit different than what my colleagues or my family or my friends or just like people in Aotearoa, New Zealand do. I definitely feel like I am kind of putting myself outside the box, and I've always done that. So today I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest milestones of my career / life. It really was the biggest life-changing moment I've ever had. I'm going to be talking about what's been going behind the scenes, some personal reflections around my own ongoing recovery and food freedom journey, and what I am intentionally building for you girls for 2026. So think of this as a little end of year exhale together. And I guess the best place to start is with something that really changed the trajectory of my life and my business, and it happens this year. So if you didn't know already, earlier this year I entered a business competition, and it was called the Stan Steven Challenge. And at this time, so this challenge popped up as a Facebook ad for me in June, or maybe it was May, end of May, right? And it started in June, and it was a 30-day challenge, and it literally was just a picture of Stephen Bartlett. Now, Stephen is the guy behind Diary of a CEO. I think I saw on Spotify Wrapped this year that I think it's the number 3 podcast in the world right now. So you might recognize him. It is a massive podcast, and he invested in a business called Stan Store, and basically Stan Store supports people to create digital products, such as like what I do with my digital workbook or my digital program, and basically you can just host your product on their website. Anyway, Stephen invested in Stan Store, and they decided to run this business competition to celebrate that collaboration. And they were offering a cash prize of $100,000 and business mentorship in LA with Stephen and the founder of Stan Store, who's called John Ho. So I saw this ad pop up, and this sounds so woo-woo, but I had this deep knowing that I would win it. And I know that sounds woo-woo, delulu, whatever. I really saw that ad, and the mantra came into my head straight away of, why not me? Why not me? Okay? But at the time, just back in June, Binge Free Bestie was not financially supporting me at all. So Binge Free Bestie I've been building for about nearly 2 years. And in June, I had about 300 followers on Instagram. I was actually, so I had about 300 followers. I was doing the podcast that was a bit more sporadic back then. And I was feeling so invisible because I was looking around and comparing myself to other like influencers and creators and therapists who were doing similar things to what I had envisioned for myself with Binge Free Bestie. But I was so confused because so many of these people are spreading misinformation, or they're not qualified, or some of their stuff they're saying is just downright wrong or harmful, or could make women's struggles worse. And so it was really frustrating because I spent so long developing my program, which was called Break Up with Binge Eating at the time. And I'd run a pilot round of this and it had gone really well, and the feedback was awesome. And then in January, I went to run another round of Break Up with Binge Eating, and nobody enrolled. I was just so tiny and had such a small reach. It just felt like nobody knew I existed, or that what I had built existed yet. And the reality was like, yeah, nobody knew I existed yet. As I said, I only had a few hundred followers, and it was just like such a slow burn. I was working 3 jobs this year. I had been working 3 jobs and building Binge Free Bestie. And yeah, it just wasn't financially supporting me. I was working full-time as a trauma therapist for women who have been through sexual violence. I was also working another role working with patients in cancer treatment, and of course building Binge Free Bestie in the rest of the margins of my life, so evenings and weekends. And it was hard. It has been hard and it's still hard. But I knew this year, no matter what, the work that I'm doing now still, and back then, it's always mattered, and it's always been changing lives. And so when I saw this pop up in June, this competition, after having already slogged away for the last 2 years on this dream and this vision, I just knew this was it for some reason. I really did. And so once the challenge started, I just went into full focus mode. So I was journaling daily, I was doing EFT tapping, I was doing hypnosis, I was regulating, I was down at the beach every day. I was obviously working on the actual business. I had a really fine-tuned strategy of how I was going to win. I went through the terms and conditions almost every day to make sure that I had read them correctly and what was the criteria to win. And I just absolutely nailed every point that they were looking at. And whilst I was doing this, I just kept to myself completely. 30 days, hermit in my cave. And it's not because I wasn't proud of what I was building, but I just didn't want anyone else's opinions, anyone's doubts, anyone else's energy influencing what I was building. I just wanted to be really clear and unshakable, and I didn't want anyone else's noise, because honestly, 16,000 people competed around the world, and I'm just a girl from Aotearoa, and so it definitely felt delusional. And I still feel like, am I delusional? Did this even happen? Honestly. So I did not tell my family. I barely spoke about it with my husband because I just didn't want anyone to say, oh, Nicole, that's a bit, that's not going to happen. But it's not to say that I was steadfast in my belief the whole time. I mean, I definitely caught myself comparing my business to other people in the challenge. I was looking at, what they were submitting. I was looking at what they had built. I was looking at how polished they were. I was trying to figure out, how would they meet those criteria to win the challenge? Are they doing a good job? Do I think they're dropping the ball? But I noticed that every time I did this, my energy shifted. My emotion shifted, my confidence really wobbled. So I had to stop doing that. And I reframed, I regulated, and I just came back to my lane. And I think you can really apply that with your recovery journey, right? Don't look at what anyone else is doing. You just focus on you and what is working for you. And I always say this to my besties in the community. What works, works. My own therapist said that to me too. What works, works. Do what has worked for you so far and build on that. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. So I just stayed in my lane, and the challenge ended end of June. And then it was actually silence for 2 whole weeks, and they didn't announce a winner. But I still had this really deep knowing in my bones. And I just knew that something was coming. And then I woke up one morning and my phone was absolutely blown up, more notifications than I'd ever had, probably combined in my life, honestly. And I saw a video or a reel, and it was a video of Stephen and John, and they were sitting at a table at the Diary of a CEO set and holding a suitcase of money, saying that they were about to award this to someone and that somebody's life had just changed. And the second I started watching it, I started just profusely sweating, cold sweats. And they said, here's the top 3 finalists. And my face popped up on the screen and Binge Free Bestie. And I just knew the second that I saw my face there that I had won. I just knew it. And they said that the winner is Nicole from New Zealand. And yeah, I was shaking, sweating, crying. I can't explain it to you. When I think about it now, it feels like it was a dream, a total dream. And I had clients that day, and I probably should have cancelled them because my head was just absolutely gone. I tried to go for a walk down the beach and cried the whole way. I tried to go get groceries and was crying at the grocery store. I was vacuuming the house and I was crying and vacuuming the house. Like, it was just the most discombobulating head screw ever. So since then, so this is since July and we're in December now, life has flipped 180, absolutely 180. So Stephen invested in Binge Free Bestie, and every dollar from that win has gone into the business and building out and leveling up. What was Break Up With Binge Eating is now The Breaker. So I had a rebrand, I built a new website, I rebuilt the program on a new platform, I got business coaching, I've set up better systems, I've got better support for myself, better resources for you girls, and I've just been setting up my life in the business so that I don't have to work 3 jobs anymore and able to sustain this mission and build our food freedom empire. So not working 3 jobs anymore, just working 2, but I'm working on it. And it's just been incredible. And it wasn't just about winning the challenge. It's been an absolute permission slip to back myself fully, really back myself and believe in magic again, because I was feeling quite burned out and jaded after really hustling on this for the last few years. And of course, like I said, comparing myself a lot to others and letting that influence me, and seeing, people on the internet talking absolute rubbish and seeming to do well. So it's really taken that spark and really lit a fire under my ass. And I'm so excited to share with you a little later about what's going to happen next. But I want to take a moment to share something personal. So not about Binge Free Bestie, because I think it matters. As I said, I'm going to be a bit more real, a bit more raw with you girls. So kind of a personal reflection on food freedom for me this year. I have been binge free since 2019. And I want to be really clear with you girls about what that means and what it doesn't. So I have been binge free since 2019. It does not mean that I never have any urges. That I never have any urges to binge eat or overeat or use food to serve. It does not mean that the binge brain, that's what I called it, my binge brain has just magically disappeared and has never ever come back. It doesn't mean that life has stopped throwing curveballs at me. As you just heard, I've been building a business, I did my master's, I've been working 3 jobs, we've moved house several times, we've had some incredibly traumatic experiences in the last 3 years that I would have loved to have used food to serve, honestly. Incredibly traumatic. And I have been coping with my own PTSD from that event, and it was really hard to choose not to use food. And in those hard moments, I just want you to know that it is actually really normal if you've had a history of an eating disorder for that old ED brain or your binge brain or whatever label you give it to pipe up again and to speak up and to start making suggestions. But I'm in such a good space now that even when life gets its absolute hardest, I have such a full toolbox to choose from that I can do that, and I can push through that urge to binge. So I've learned how to regulate my nervous system. And I think more importantly, I've found meaning and purpose beyond food or my weight or shape or my appearance. Okay? Like, you guys know I'm so passionate about Binge Free Bestie and about the work that I do and then about empowering women and making positive impact in the world. That gives my life meaning and it lines up with my values. Back when I was binge eating, I didn't have that. I did not have a clear vision of what my meaning and purpose was in life. And I think that's one of the biggest protective factors that mean that I'm able to stay well now. So if you're not totally clear on what gives your life meaning and value, I want you to think about that going into 2026, because it will keep you well and it will give you the intrinsic motivation that you need to ride those waves or urges to binge. So I've learned how to regulate my nervous system since I recovered. I've found that meaning and purpose beyond food and the way that I look, and I've built a toolkit that supports me when things get really hard. And as I said before, most of my binge eating came from emotional dysregulation, came from trauma, loneliness, that lack of meaning, feeling of overwhelm. But when I found the mission that really mattered to me and I started showing up for it, and when I actually learned how to care for my nervous system, that is when everything shifted, and that is when my recovery stuck. So do I still get thoughts about using food to soothe sometime? Yes, I do. Pops up from time to time. That is just old wiring. The old wiring doesn't disappear. Yes, we have neuroplasticity. Yes, we have synaptic pruning, and your brain, over the span of your life will start to clear out synapses or neural pathways that it's not using. And eventually, maybe that will be a little pathway where I used to binge. But the less that you use those pathways, the quieter they get. So I'm not acting on those pathways. I'm not acting on them. I'm choosing other tools. I tap. So emotional freedom technique tapping is one of my absolute favorite tools. I journal. I read. I snuggle with my cat, Lola. I like to let my brain turn to mush every so often. Every day, actually. I like to watch really, really trashy TV. And I love to doom scroll as well. I love just not using my brain sometimes. And I also love walking on the beach every day. It's a priority. And so I wanted to share that. And it's a win that I think is probably the most important win of the year for me, actually. Like, cool. Competition was awesome. Heck yeah, it was awesome. But this year brought in a lot of stress around business. A lot of pressure to perform. Winning that competition opened up a can of worms around kind of like, holy moly, I have to be seen. I have to show up. I have to be open to criticism. People are gonna, and people have been, critiquing the shit out of me. I've got some really brutal feedback since July. And those moments would have definitely dysregulated me in the past. And sometimes they did dysregulate me now, but I pulled myself back pretty quick, which has been great. Most importantly, I didn't binge. And so that is what recovery looks like. Okay, it's not about perfection. It's about awareness, knowing your capacity, having that toolkit and actually using it. So that is another win for me from 2025, a bit more of a personal one. And now I want to share with you about looking ahead to 2026. So, the word that is coming up for me is intentional. Okay? So I'm not going bigger just for the sake of being bigger. or busier for the sake of like proving myself or feeling like that's what I have to be doing. I'm going for a deeper, steadier, more sustainable lifestyle because 2025 taught me that I absolutely can build something so fucking powerful. 2026 is going to be about building something sustainable. So from a business perspective, I'm going to be refining what I do at Binge Free Bestie, and of course I'm still going to be expanding it at the same time, but I'm not throwing spaghetti at the wall anymore like I definitely was for the past 2 years. I'm just going to double down on what is working. So what does that mean? Firstly, I'm creating more clearer pathways for women at different stages of recovery. I'm going to be adding in more structured, personalized support within my programs, and I'm going to be offering fewer offers or products or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be doing less but more within those spaces. So it's going to be very high touch, personalized, intimate work that I'm doing. Because as I said at the start of this episode, I think there's going to be like a pendulum swing back the other way because we're going really far into the kind of AI driven automation, da-da-da-da kind of stuff. And I think that we need to swing the other way now and have more personalized connection and community. And that's what I'm all about at Binge Free Bestie. It's about building a community for you to feel safe and held and seen and celebrated. So I'm honing in on and refining that. You're going to see more depth. You're going to see more embodiment. As I said, I'm going to be sharing more of myself and weave that into everything that I do. So as well as that, I'm just going to be really focusing on stepping more fully into my role as a CEO, not just a therapist who happens to run a business. That's a mindset shift I'm focusing on. So building more systems, protecting my energy, and leading in a way that allows Binge Free Bestie to grow without me being such a bottleneck, because there's only one of me and I want to support you all. 1 in 5 people struggle with binge eating disorder. There's only one of me, 1 in 5 people with this struggle. So if I burn out, then this mission burns out and I'm just absolutely not gonna let that happen. Okay, so one thing I'm really, really crystal clear on heading into 2026 is that food freedom work cannot be rushed, and healing doesn't respond to urgency or pressure or hustle culture. And actually, I've realized that neither do I. So I'm going to be creating spaces where women like you and women like me can actually integrate, we can come together, and it's not just about consuming information and hoping for the best, because as I said, you can Google anything. You can use ChatGPT as your therapist nowadays, though I don't recommend it, obviously, disclaimer, but you could, and we've seen people online who are doing that, and some of the results of it have been really harmful for them, right? But you technically can find information on anything you want, but doesn't that just overload you? So what you need is less of that mental load, more spaces to integrate, more lived experience, more lived change. So that's what I'm focusing on, is stronger community connection and more kind of live, high touch support from me, and a team that I'm going to start building out of coaches who I will train and bring into Binge Free Bestie as well. And to kind of build on that, which is very exciting, is that in February 2026, so just a couple of months from now, I'm going to be holding the very first cohort of live group coaching within the breakup. So right now, you'll know that we have got a self-led recovery program, and that's my signature program. It's going through my food freedom method that I've spent years developing. But now you're going to be able to do it within a high-touch supported live group container. So you go through the breakup curriculum with me and alongside a small group of women who are also ready to stop fighting food, to stop fighting their bodies, and to actually change things at the root level. So I'm based in New Zealand time zone, so we live in the future, and we, compared to the rest of the world. So make sure that you double check dates and times and things if you're interested. But it's going to be live group coaching calls, real-time support. There'll be space to ask questions to me, space to be seen, space to integrate. And this is a 4.5 month long container. So it is an intensive food freedom experience. And one thing that I know for sure is that healing doesn't happen in isolation, and it definitely doesn't happen through just information alone. So this container that's going to start in Feb is for women who are just totally done with white knuckling it. They're done with starting every Monday or every New Year, and they're just done with trying to be better. And you would have heard a theme throughout today's episode. If 2025 really taught me anything, it was that support changes everything. My life has totally changed in the most beautiful ways through having support and being seen and validated. And so I want to offer that level of support to you. And if you've been listening to this podcast and resonating with my work and thinking, you know what, I actually don't want another year like this, then this is your invitation, okay? The doors are open now for the live coaching starting in February, and I'd love to invite you into that space. I'm going to run it a few times a year, so if you're listening to this later, after February 2026, there'll be more cohorts. You just check on my website to see when the next date is. But if you enroll now in 2025, you can lock in 2025 price. One thing that I've decided on this year is to have better boundaries around valuing myself in my work. And so moving forward, I'm no longer offering discounts on what I do or promos or Black Friday or, stuff like that, because what I do is worth what it is worth. But if you want to lock it in 2025, I will be offering it $500 less than what I will be offering it in 2026 and moving forward. So that is a founding price. And it's also just to honor fast action takers and women who want to have something sorted as they move into 2026. So they're not feeling distressed and dysregulated by all of the Christmas chaos right now, or the holiday chaos, or that New Year, New You stuff that you'll be hearing right about now. You can sign up for the groups. We start in Feb, but you'll be able to rest assured knowing that you've made this awesome decision for yourself. So it's the lowest price point you're ever going to be able to access this. And you can have a payment plan. Like, you can just chit chat with me about that, and all the details are on my website, which is bingefreebestie.com. And finally, on a personal level for 2026, there's so many cool things that are happening next year. And again, I think it's just about coming into alignment with my mission and my purpose. A cool thing that's happening is we just started building our first house, which is feeling so incredibly grounding and symbolic, because I'm finally putting down roots after years of everything just being up in the air and studying and working all those jobs and being absolutely broke. I've never not lived paycheck to paycheck, and I have been in an embarrassing amount of debt all of my adult life. I'm in my early 30s now. In my early 20s, I withdrew all of my savings that I had since I was 14. I was saving for a house, and I withdrew all to have bariatric surgery, so weight loss surgery. And I had so much credit card debt and overdraft debt from signing up to every diet, fat loss pills, cleansers, milkshakes, like whatever it was, chasing thinness, an incredible amount of debt. So when I share with you guys that I finally got myself out of that cycle, and that I've been binge free since 2019, so it's been 5-6 years post stopping investing all that money in diet culture, but it's taken this long to recover. Food freedom has also meant for me things like financial freedom and feeling safe and knowing that I can trust myself, that I have my own back. So I think building the house is just so symbolic, because I never thought that I could have this, or that I just put weight loss on top of everything else as the most important thing in the planet, and I let the rest of my world crumble to pursue that. So I'm feeling really proud of myself, and I can't wait to share with you more about that next year. Other cool things as well is like doors opening and life opening is next Christmas. So we're still a whole year away here, but I'm going to be traveling to Colombia for the first time to connect with family. My husband is from Bogota, and we met here in New Zealand, and we've actually never been in a position to be able for him to go home or for me to meet his family. So I've never been to Colombia, and I've actually never met my mother-in-law, which is mad. I've met his dad. His dad was able to come visit us, and his auntie, but I've never got to meet his mum. So that's another thing that is just would not have been possible if I didn't get my shit together and I didn't stop spending all my time, money, and energy pursuing whatever diet culture told me was the next thing. So that's exciting. And yeah, like cool things I'm going to be doing is I've signed up for some dance lessons next year. So prioritizing more joyful movement. I've planned out the whole of next year the best I can and scheduled in lots of rest and regulation and pleasure and play, because I cannot guide you guys into fuller lives if I'm not living it myself. So really having stronger boundaries. And yeah, I'm going to LA in 2 weeks. So the first week of January, I will be going on that trip to see Stephen Butler and John Ho to talk about Binge Free Bestie and how we're going to take things to the next level. So I'm staying on Hollywood Boulevard, which is like so cool, and I'm going to be sharing all of that on Instagram. So make sure that you're following along. That first week of Jan, I'll be there. I will be going behind the scenes of Diary of a CEO. I will be pitching a few ideas to them. I think what I've learned is like, why not just be really bold and ask for, what I want to build, ask for that support, and trusting that everything, happens for a reason. So yeah, and that's the energy I'm taking forward, is being grounded, regulated, clear, self-led, not feeling like I have to prove myself, not performing, not pushing, just building steadily, honestly, and in alignment with the values that got me here in the first place, I think. So if you've been here all year, thank you so much. And if you're new here, welcome, and thank you for joining our squad. If you've been listening and you've been thinking, you know what, I want a different relationship with food and my body and my life, then I want you to know that that is absolutely possible. It's possible not through force, not through punishment, but through support, community, regulation, and compassion. So here is to a slower, steadier, and more grounded 2026. And make sure that you tune in next week, because I'm doing a 7-day mini podcast series, which is a New Year food freedom reset for you gals. It'll start on the 1st of January, but of course you can listen to it any time of year if you want to do a bit of a reset. But I thought it'd be nice to make you guys a New Year gift and give you something so that you can come into the 2026 being like, okay, I can do this. Here's a tool. Here's a mindset shift. And give you something really practical. So watch out for that one. It's going to be all scheduled up for the 1st of January. Until then, I'll talk to you again soon and take care. And I hope you had a fabulous holiday season and a happy, happy new year. Ciao.